What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps. It's been a while. It's been a very long while. And we got a fun episode coming up. Got a lot of things to discuss. Let me turn the gain down. I think I might be peaking a bit. I haven't been in this house in a while. Yep, I'm recording on Zoom. Yeah. Am I recording on Zoom? Oh, no, I'm not recording.
Oh, there we go.
On Zoom. But we are recording on Zoom now. What was I going to say? Yeah, so fun episode. I think we got a lot of things to discuss. The main thing, in case you guys don't remember, this is Jake Fine, a.k.a. Taekwondo guy. If you don't know, you should probably look it up. That's a very interesting story, but we'll save that for another time.
I actually changed it to Jake Fine Media the other day on Instagram.
Still Taekwondo guy, though.
Still, yeah. It's like if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. We got a couple things we want to discuss, though, and we'll get going right away. The main thing first, though, I just want to say shout out to our sponsors, Bow Valley Barbecue, G Fuel, of course, and our guys at DraftKings Sportsbook. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast, for supporting the show, and keeping the, as they say, the lights on, right? I think that's what they say.
Keeping my lights on.
With that being said, we'll jump into it. So we're back now in Vegas. Well, I am at least. Jake's back in Chicago. And I actually got to have a meeting with Hunter. But before we get into that, I want to just discuss like what happened at PFL. We had a great time over there watching the fights.
It looks sick.
Yeah, we ran into Henry Cejudo with Ali. And I'm with the boys. I'm with Ali Quinta. I'm with Dylan Montello, the quiet man, who just won his fight at Ring of Combat, won the title in a rematch fight. Nassim Sadikov, if you guys don't know who he is, go look him up on Dana White Contender Series. The guy's a banger. And I feel like there was one more guy I'm missing. Pumi. Pumi came through.
Oh, shit.
Undefeated prospect. He's semi-retired right now. He's got like 1 foot out the door, but the other one's still in the MMA world. So we're trying to pull him back in. So for people who don't know, I don't know if he disclosed that or not. If not, my bad, Pumi. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. My bad.
It's funny.
But we had a good crew. We walked in. I got to meet Flavor Flav. I met Clarissa Shields. I got to meet Wiz Khalifa. So it was just like an all-star weekend, man. After going from like the Islander game, getting to meet the owner of the Islanders, which was crazy. He was a super nice dude. Just met a whole bunch of people. I met Chris Brown's bodyguard.
Wow.
At the Islander game, yeah. So it was just a crazy weekend. I'm like, this is absolutely absurd, the type of life that I'm living. Like, just the people that
Ben Stiller, too.
I'm meeting. Ben Stiller, yeah, I'm getting it.
Okay.
We working our way.
My bad. You just named so many high-profile people. I didn't want you to forget some of them.
Bro, it's insane. So we go from the Islander game. And first, I did like a little charity thing with Madison Bear. Honestly, she's from Long Island. I don't know I didn't know what she did. I had to look her up. No disrespect. She's got 33 million followers. I have barely 500,000. So clearly she's important. Maybe, I don't know if it's important the term, or clearly she's popular. I think she did something for like Justin Bieber. I don't know if you were familiar with her.
I've heard of her name. I know she's like a TikToker, right?
Yeah, so that's what my sister says. She's a TikToker. I go, that's it? And they go, oh, she actually did a song. I guess she does a lot of covers. She did one for Justin Bieber, and I guess he reposted it. And that's cool. Justin Bieber showed her some love, and she blew up, I guess, shortly after that. But the girl's got talent. She can sing, clearly. I don't know if she has any of her own songs, but that's where this week started. We did that event, charity drive. So she was a big part of that, helping out, feeding some families in Long Island, which was cool. So I'm always gonna be happy to do like charity work type of stuff. So even though I didn't know her, I didn't know what she did, it was cool to meet her. She seemed like a genuine person, like a nice person overall. Short conversation, not too long. And I met a couple of that's where I met the owner of the Islanders. We were at the Coliseum earlier that day as well. I met the owner of the Coliseum building. He said whenever we want to come to an event or get tickets, he said I hit him up. So I'm definitely going to be, keeping in touch with a lot of these guys, you know what I mean? So we got some good connections that we're building. And that was Wednesday. And then Friday we had PFL. Ran into Henry, ran into Ali. And then I go, Ali, I'm drinking, bro. I'm already 2 drinks in. I double-fisted. I'm on my way to my 3rd cup right now at this point. And I see Ali and Henry, and I go over. I say, Ali, brother, come here.
Oh, God.
What do you mean it's done, bro? What do you mean it's done? he just smiles. He does this Ali grin, and I feel like he had like a toothpick, or I don't. Maybe he didn't have the toothpick. I know sometimes he'll have a toothpick, and he looked at me. He smiled, and he goes, "Brother, what do you mean? It's done." And I go, "Ali, but what do you mean it's done? I don't understand this." I go, "Tell me, what do you mean? Like, show me how it's done. Like, I don't understand. I didn't talk to nobody."
Wait, but you're referring to Ali saying that the Henry fight was a done deal.
Yeah, because he manages Frankie Edgar, he manages Justin Gaethje, he manages Henry Cejudo, and a bunch of other high profile guys. So
Yeah, probably the most famous manager in the game.
yeah, for not always good reasons, But
I mean, hey,
he's ride or die, I guess.
yeah.
When I saw him, I approached him like this, and I was like, obviously I'm a little lit, so I'm talking my shit right now. And he was like, "It's done, brother." He's like, "They didn't offer you a fight." I was like, "Ali, no." I'm like, "There's nothing done." I was like, "You need the A side if you want to have a fight. You can't just have the B side. You need the A side and the B side." I don't even know who the A side is, honestly. Like, no disrespect to Henry, but I would imagine that I would probably, at this point in both of our careers, I'm probably the A side going into this fight. Probably the favorite as well. When this
What kind of
gets
backhanded
announced.
thing is that to say?
Well, A side. Some people would take that as like disrespect. Like Mayweather, he's always the A side. He's the more popular guy. He gets paid the most. So that's how people kind of look at that. Like, oh, I'm the A side. I'm the A side. I get more money, even though we're probably gonna get paid relatively the same thing. Yeah. So when I told him, I was like, dude, there's no fight until I talk with these guys, and then we figure it out. I'm not being resistant on it. I'm like, dude, I'll gladly beat Henry up. You want me to beat up your boy? I'll beat up your boy, Ali. And that's what I told him. Like, this can happen anytime, any place, anywhere. It doesn't really matter. It's just not happening in Perth. It's just not happening in Perth. And the reason why I say this, though, is because I still have a partially torn bicep tendon. I have a partially torn UCL that's gotten better, and the UCL gotten better, but the bicep tendon, the tear has not gotten better, which is unfortunate. That is still hurting me this much. Thank God the fight that I had with TJ lasted as long as it did, because if it went through a crazy wrestling war, could have potentially tore it in the fight, and I could be on the sidelines with a win or with a loss, even though I really think I would have smashed him regardless if he had two arms or not. But I would have been on the sidelines in surgery already and on the way to recovery. So I'm just glad it didn't tear. But now is the time to like take care of it. And I got like a good month before, if we do have this fight. So just breaking news, this fight is going to happen. Obviously you guys saw the face-off with myself and Henry Cejudo. I have no problem fighting Henry. Never ducked anybody a day in my life. The UFC gives me the toughest competitions, and I always step up to the plate, and I always win. Except for that one time where I got sent to the Neptunes against Marlon Moraes. For the most part, I typically win those challenges, right?
So wait, you're announcing that you are going to fight Henry next.
So I'm announcing that I am going to fight Henry next. We are targeting March. So I will say, Ali, brother, it's done. But it's still not done until there's ink on the paper. You know what I mean? But it's done. It's done, brother. But it's still kind of not done, But this is the fight that's going to happen next. I like the layout. I like the matchup. I think it's going to be a fun fight for the fans. And I think it will be, on paper, will be more competitive. Even though I think skill-wise, I think O'Malley possesses more of the threat of a fight-ending KO, if that makes sense. Where, like, Henry can win the fight, but I don't think he wins by finish. I just can't see myself losing to Henry by finish. It's always possible, but, like, in all honesty, I just don't see how Henry can find a shot that would put me out. Unless I ran face first into his knee like I did against Marlon Moraes, which, knock on wood, I don't think that's going to happen again. And then with O'Malley, what I was saying about that, like, yeah, if I take him down, I could hump the hell out of him and then strangle him and beat the crap out of him on the floor. Like, that's a given. I got multiple ways I can win against O'Malley, but O'Malley has a devastating way that he can win, which is a one-shot knockout blow, or a shot that can rock me because he's the longer, rangier fighter, and he actually can strike and will sit down on his punches. So there's the danger factor there in closing the distance, and that's just being completely honest. Like, again, if I take him down, I know what I'm going to do to him. If I take down Henry, I know what I'm going to do to him. Like, people can say whatever they want to say. The fights are all the same. Same, but different, bro. Same, but different. You know, I actually just posted that today on my IG. Same, but
Okay.
different.
All right. I
So
see you.
I like the fight. Yeah, so I did. And even with Henry, like when we did the face off and then he started to scream, bro, I was like, come on, dude. I was like, this is cool until you did that. Why do you have to ruin the moment, bro? Why can't you just be cool and just be like calm? Like, do you have to scream and create a scene and make things awkward that I'm just looking at you and people are looking at you? I'm just like, all right, we just look like a couple of strange weirdos right now in this crowd, in this fighting arena right now.
Yeah. He knows how to make people cringe.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm looking at him like, I get it now. I get why they call you cringy. Because that was just super unnecessary. You did not have to do that, my man. You did not have to do
Bruh.
that. But yeah,
Dang.
I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even know that fight was official.
Well, as we said, it's done, but it's not done, brother.
It's agreed, but
It's agreed, but it's not done.
no dotted lines have been signed. At least on your end.
Like contract official, but verbally agreed upon official. And
That is kind of all the crap Henry's been doing for the past like 8 months actually paid off. He's getting a title fight.
yeah. Well, so here's the other part of this, and what are we at right now in our in our Zoom call? We should just pay for the upgraded one so we don't have to worry about time limit. Maybe I need to stop
I've been
being
recording.
I don't want to say a
12
Jew,
minutes.
but is that like a anti-Semitism thing if I say that? I don't want to be a Jew.
I'll let it
And-
slide. You gotta
I
let
don't
me
know.
get one racist joke off though.
I'm like, I'm being cheap, you know? I don't, is that a good thing? I'm being frugal. Let me not say cheap. Cheap sounds more like, you're a cheapskate. I'm being frugal.
I don't really
Maybe we should
mind
just-
that one, but I think the whole there's some stuff that's annoying, but I don't really mind that one.
Yeah. I'm being smart with my money, but maybe I should spend the money and get like the premium so we can
Yeah.
not have to end calls.
For reference, this guy's so cheap. He signs into my WeTransfer that I pay for. He pays me to do all his video stuff, but he signs into my WeTransfer that I pay for to send me files to edit instead
Listen,
of paying
man.
it for himself.
You got to get ahead, right?
And
There's
he
only one
doesn't-
way to get
he's-
ahead in life.
Yeah, there's one way.
Guys, what they say,
Just make your videographer pay for everything.
I don't have a, if it's free, it's for me, baby. Let's go.
Wow. So, all right. So do you have an early prediction for you versus Henry, or do you want to even go there?
Honestly, I know I said finish him in one, which I realistically can't see that happening. I felt like if the TJ fight, if he actually tried to get up, obviously his arm was messed up at that point. But what I'm saying is if he was able to get up, I think he would have forced himself into a worse position, which would allow me to have finished that fight in the first round. With Henry, I think he might be naive enough to rush certain positions. And me saying this could just ruin that whole thought process for him and make him not do something like that. But I can see him still making a mistake and leaving an opportunity for me to strangle him. I don't think Henry's a guy I would punch out. I think he's a guy I would need to submit. That's what I think. Yeah, if I punched him out, that would be fun. Or if I catch him coming in with him trying to close the distance, because he's going to need to close the distance. He's going to use that wide stance that he does. And this is just for me, right, breaking his fights down from the fights I've seen before previously. Him using that wide range, wide stance, trying to cover ground with those kicks. And when he throws the kicks, he tries to crash the position, and then he'll try to mix it up and come inside and dart inside with the cross. But the thing is, when he does that, it'll leave him with opportunities or I should say, it'll leave me with opportunities to capitalize on, because he's going to leave these glaring holes that I can step through and punish him severely for it. And again, this is two competitors. I think it's going to be a high-level chess match. I'm going to look to press him backwards and push him back towards the cage and close the distance. It's going to be like a cat versus a mouse. I'm going to be trying to catch the mouse. And I think once I catch the mouse, I mean, we all know what the cat does to the mouse, you know? So I think it's only a matter of time. As long as I'm in top shape, which I'm always in top shape, you know? So I think if I come in there ready to go 5 rounds hard, I can steamroll him in the first round and push the pace and maybe create a situation where he'll make a mistake or finish him in the second round. So I think first, if I'm giving a prediction, I'm gonna say second round. I think second round, and I'm gonna challenge myself. I think second round TKO. I think he's gonna run into something. I think he's gonna try to wrestle and close the distance. Otherwise, if he doesn't close the distance, how is he gonna win the fight? He's gonna point fight me from the outside. He's gonna throw leg kicks, throw calf kicks. I'm the longer guy. I'm harder to hit than he may think, and I think that's all gonna play a big factor in my favor. And I think with him being off the couch in 2.5 years, I think it should be more of a beneficial thing for me. But again, he did have 2.5 years of rest, not having to go through crazy surgeries the way I did in rehab and training camps. That's also a factor. So I have to look at all these things and make sure I'm properly prepared. And that's why I want to make sure I give myself enough time to heal up going into 2023. So I'm not fighting compromise going in as I've done the last 2 fights. And even though I still won, Henry's a guy I just don't think I can take that chance with, so I want to make sure I'm as prepared as possible. And I think with that being said, I finish him in 2.
Henry has said like a few times, and then like Mighty Mouse even said on the Rogan interview that like Henry's really good at picking, like finding a fighter's like glaring hole that's easy to exploit, and then just like being very disciplined about exploiting it.
And staying there, yeah.
He said this to your face, like he knows that hole for you, but what do you think that is?
I really don't know. I don't know if he thinks I can't box, but then it's just like, you see me box with Pedro Munoz, a guy who primarily boxes. You see me box with a guy like Jimmy Rivera, a guy who primarily boxes. I don't know what the hole is. I don't know if it's him thinking, I need to be aggressive and stay in his face. Maybe that's what he's thinking. And like I look at my fights and I try to break it down. Like, how would I beat me if this was a problem I need to solve? And I feel like to beat me, you need to try to beat me on points. I don't know if there's a way to beat me by finish, because I don't really put myself in situations where I'm easy to hit, if that makes sense. Except the one time I rushed the finish and I got excited and I took Marlon lightly and I paid the price for it. So other than that, I mean, there's no other fight that I really lost where it's like no one has ever beaten me down. I don't have no fights like that where it's like, oh, you got your ass kicked. No fight has happened like that. And with that being said, I just don't know what his logic is in this. Like, what's going to be the thing that he stays home with? The one thing I will say, when I fought Jan the second time, he did better at landing those leg kicks. And that's because he didn't throw as many the first time. My game plan was throw the leg kicks against Jan because that was the easiest target I was able to hit. Even though I punched him in his face a bunch, but that was the easier target I felt like I had a lot of success with. And then I went over the top with the head kicks 2 times in a row. And then when I shot, he hit me with the knee. And the fight was over. So with that being said, yeah, I really don't know. I think he's going to be overly confident. And I think he's thinking that the same guy who showed up against TJ, even though, what do you get to learn from that TJ fight other than if I take you down, good fucking luck. That's the only thing I can say that anyone could take away from that fight. Like, even the first few exchanges, I try to make it as more exciting with the stand-up and try to give him an opportunity to try to hit me and take risks going forward, pushing him backwards. And ultimately, he threw a strike that I was able to capitalize on and take him down. So I just don't know where Henry sees these weaknesses, But it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. And again, I evolve every single fight, so I don't think for a second, or should I say, for a second, if he really thinks he's coming out there and fighting the same guy from the Jan fight or the same guy from the Pedro fight, he's gonna be rudely awakened and probably waking up to the refs looking at him and asking him if he's all right.
Fuck, you make a good case.
Should be a good fight though. Shout out G Fuel. Use my discount code ALJO for 20% off.
Fuck
all
yeah.
day, every day, baby. But that's my thought on that. That whole interaction was relatively strange. I like Henry though, so people don't say like, oh, you guys really like each other. I actually don't. I don't mind Henry. I think he's weird. I think he's a strange guy. But at the end of the day, he's respectable in the sense of his competitive pedigree and what he's actually accomplished in his career. I have no ill will against the guy. I just think he's a strange dude. I'm not excited to fight him, but I will say I did have a meeting with Hunter, and it went relatively well. And I will say I'm definitely happy, and that has helped me get up in the morning to say, okay, I'll get up to go fight Henry Cejudo for this. I'll get up to go fight Henry for that. So,
Wow. Yo, congrats.
Thank you. So I'm happy about that, and so yeah, it's not signed yet, but again, it's one of those things. It's not done. It's done, but it's not done. So I'm happy where everything is at now. At the end of the day, I'm fighting. This is prize fighting. I want to fight the best guys, and that was the goal when I first started. Now the goals have changed. Now it's to make as much money as possible while still fighting the best guys and cementing my name in the history books. And I think beating a guy like Henry Cejudo will add to that list. And I think I beat him. Even if it's controversial, no one can say anything. You can't keep saying I keep getting lucky against all these top-level guys. Like, why do I just keep getting lucky? It's like the more I train, the harder I train, the smarter I train, the luckier I get. I don't know what to tell you guys. If I win, when I win, I should say, just pay the respects, man. That's it. Humbly and respectfully. Put some respect on it, baby.
I mean, at this point, I feel like who gives a shit what people have to say? Like, even you keep winning. You're getting bigger paychecks every fight. Your record keeps getting better. What else? Like, who cares if people never get on board? It's like,
it's weird.
It's like just who gives a fuck? Like, honestly.
Yeah, because I go, like, if you think this highly of this guy, excuse me. Oh my God, I feel like Israel Adesanya doing that. If you think this highly of these guys, and I've now beaten. Let's go. Brett Johnson, undefeated at the time, ranked. Cody Stamann, he was undefeated at the time in the UFC, ranked. And his only loss before that was a split decision that arguably, what I heard from other people, that he should have won the fight. So should have been undefeated, ranked. Jimmy Rivera, he was ranked in the top 5. I beat him. Pedro Munoz, he was ranked in the top 5. I beat him. Corey Sandhagen, he was ranked in the top 5. I beat him. I beat Piotr Jan. I beat TJ Dillashaw. It's like, what else do I have to, like, who else do I need to beat for people to go, okay, all right, maybe this guy's just that good. He is actually good. Like, if you rate these guys that I'm beating up here, and then I beat them, you can't downplay that all of a sudden because you don't like me. Like, don't let your hate for me blindside you on the facts, which is that I'm out here busting those cheeks, baby.
Yeah, you got to stop talking about cheeks, bro.
Pause.
You got to stop.
The fans love the cheeks.
You got to beat Sean O'Malley to get the mainstream respect.
Yeah, well, we also talked about that fight, and it's like Sean is popular, but mostly popular on like the internet. On a casual basis, this is why people thought this fight was going to be compelling to begin with, because they feel like, yeah, O'Malley's popular, he's good, like that's a money grab fight in that sense. But the casuals that tune in, like the hardcore fans, they know on paper, based on what Sean O'Malley has done to date in comparison to Henry Cejudo, they feel that the Henry fight is the more compelling matchup for right now. And it does feel weird because it's like, let's let Sean O'Malley sit out and wait so that he can get better with his grappling. By the time the summer comes around, he should be good enough to compete with Aljamain Sterling or Merab Dvalishvili or Ricky Simone or maybe Henry Cejudo. He can compete with any of those guys. We just got to give him time. That's what it feels like. I'm like, dude, if the guy wants to fight for the number 1 spot and gets the number 1 spot, he should be willing to fight. Like the UFC always says, this is not the place that you fight. You come here to get ready and learn. This is where you come to be ready. You be here and you fight the best guys. But somehow it just doesn't apply. And don't get me wrong, he did beat Piotr Jan, and I give him that nod. But then don't also say in the same breath that he's not ready to fight the high-level grapplers in the division. Because if you're the best guy, you fight the best guys. You know what I mean?
Also, you're not going to close a gap in anything in life. You can't close 10 years of experience in like a year. Like, even if he had a whole year to just be in a jiu-jitsu mat rolling around with people, he still wouldn't close the gap with you. So it's kind of, I mean, he could get better, but
he could definitely get better. I don't know how much better.
10,000 hours versus like 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
You know, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah. I mean, either way, I'm going to be excited for that fight regardless. I mean, I beat Henry, then I fight O'Malley because he gets to wait, as he's pretty much got a bye to the finals. He got a bye all the way to the finals. He had one tough match, and now he gets to wait and sit, and then he gets to fight for the title. And here's what I think. And I don't know if the UFC actually thinks like this, but my theory is I get a harder matchup with Henry. Maybe Henry beats me. You have the 2-time division champ, and now he comes back. He wins the belt. And this is playing devil's advocate, because I always think like this, that you have to, because you never know like what's guaranteed, right? So let's say Henry beats me. Then he gets the crazy payday, gets to go against O'Malley. And O'Malley gets the easier fight of the two in terms of the stylistic matchup, because styles make fights. He gets to fight Henry, who's primarily a wrestler, not really a grappler in the sense of like he can finish you with submissions, because I don't think he even has any type of jiu-jitsu finishes whatsoever. He has a better chance of knocking him out, right? Versus a fight with me. So I think stylistically, I think O'Malley has a better chance of becoming a UFC world champion fighting Henry Cejudo and not Aljamain Sterling. I think that's the thought process. We can have our golden goose become the champ that we think he can be if we give him a more favorable matchup. What better way to do that than to have the wrestler fight the other high-level wrestler and potentially lose? And I'm not saying this is what they think, but at the same time, this is what I think the thought process is. Because if not, then it's like, why not just have me wait to fight Sean in July, you know? If that's not what they think, then why not just do that? And I did bring this up as well. And again, we just know the gap. But I don't think the gap closes is going to be different between me fighting somebody and just waiting. I don't think there's a difference in that. So I think that this is what I just think. I just think that's what the thought process is.
I mean, look at it as you get to beat Henry, become an even bigger star, and then you get to fight O'Malley for the big payday. And
100%.
then beat his ass, and then you're the golden goose.
That's the other way to look at it. And they did bring that to my attention as well, in the sense of like having the fans become more supportive if I beat a guy like that, in terms of the casuals and in terms of the hardcore fan base. So I get a little bit of a double dip there. And for me, it's a fun legacy fight, man. I always said I want to fight the best guys. And when I first got into the UFC, I wanted to fight the best guys for peanuts. I didn't even realize. And I told Hunter to his face, it's like, dude, when I did this sport, I didn't realize it was a business. I got in here to just fight, make a couple of dollars here and there. I was winning fights. I was going to strip clubs after fighting, and I was just having a good time. I was like, this is amazing. This is way better than wrestling. I could beat somebody up, choke them out, not get banged up too much, and make money while doing this. This is great. Where's the loss in this? And then when I start to get hurt, get injuries, and then I tweaked my neck. I tweaked it in college, and then as my neck got worse, and then I did my first press conference, and we stayed after the fight for so long, and I go, this is a business. This is not what I thought it was. This is actually about the theatrics a little bit, the performance in the fight, and then self-promotion afterwards. And then how do you get to the next level in your career, the next height? How do you become someone that can bring more eyeballs? And then you start to realize it's not about just fighting. It's bigger than that. There's so much that goes into this. And I told him, I was like, dude, I don't know if I was given the opportunity, we got 10 minutes. If I was given the opportunity to do this again, I told Hunter, I said, if I could see the end goal and I could see all the work that needs to be done versus me just getting my college degree and seeing what my life could have been working alongside some of my peers that I went to high school with, I don't know if I would have chosen this same path. You know, I really don't know. And I said that I also not reminded him, but I also brought it up, like the fact that I could even meet some of these people that I've met throughout my lifetime in this sport because of this sport makes it somewhat worth it. But at the same time, like all the work and sacrifice in terms of not living a normal life, always feeling like there's potentially someone trying to get one over on you, the injuries, the surgeries, the sacrifices, missing out on holiday events, missing out on things that are important to most people, but that you have to give up because you have to train for something. There's a lot more that you give up, and it's a trade-off. I mean, you get to fight, train really, really hard for 2-3 months, and then you have maybe 1 to 3 months off to kind of just live life. I mean, that's a big trade-off. So there's rewards and benefits versus some cons that come with this territory, you know. But I'm fortunate, I'm blessed because I'm one of the few that actually made it to the pinnacle of this sport. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, to get to the pinnacle of anything in life, it's extremely hard and it takes a lot of sacrifice. Like, you give something up and you have to lose something to get what you want. There's no there's nothing worth having without some type of sacrifice. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And you're young,
Yeah.
man. You're 21, so I think you're probably learning. Like even when it comes to like sleep, for you to do great work and to get stuff done on a certain time schedule to help build something that you're trying to build, it takes time, it takes sacrifice, it takes energy, more so than it would have taken if you just, I'm just gonna get up, go to work, punch the clock, come back home, chill, maybe go to a happy hour and just hang out with my friends, create memories, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different type
Yeah.
of lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, even I learned a lot about that just by kind of watching you in these last two title fights, just what it takes to actually just be great at something in general. And
Yeah.
there's people who like just to be great at anything, you have to work super hard and like sacrifice and think long term. You can't just like expect something great to happen overnight. So, but yeah, I'm getting like a
1000%.
first class lesson in that just watching you and like Marab and all you guys just punch in the clock day in and day out.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot of time. Again, I can't stress the word sacrifice enough. And I think people think, I sacrifice stuff. It's like, you think you do. I'm not saying this for everyone, but you think you do until you actually look back and like, wow, where has the time gone? And look at all the things I had to have given up just to get here. And sometimes you're not even guaranteed to get here. This is
Yeah.
a pipe dream to get to this type of position. So again, I'm definitely blessed and fortunate. I'm happy where I'm at. I don't take it for granted. And hopefully the good times keep rolling in. I do know that song would eventually stop, and I'm eventually going to lose if I stick around long enough. And while I'm here, I want to make sure, and this is just being brutally honest, I just want to make sure I can collect as much as I can while I have the pay-per-view points and all these other things, and people care and they want to hang out with me. They give a shit about me right now. And I'm just trying to get all the things I could get that come with this limelight while I can, because one day it will be taken away and someone else will run with the torch, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's the best way I can rationalize it. Like, losing is part of life. It's how you handle it and where you go from after that. So I'm excited to see where the future takes us, and just let the good times keep coming in, man. That's all I can say. Just keep doing what we're doing.
Facts.
I know we got like 5 minutes. Let me check. We have 5 minutes, 5 minutes 30. So let's I did want to talk about this thing real quick, this Artem Lobov thing. I don't know what's going on with that, with him and Conor. I find that like super interesting that these two guys that were super best friends and super tight and training partners, how it got from that to where it is now. I don't know how much you followed it, but apparently Artem Lobov is suing Conor for a couple M's for the Proper 12 work,
It's
creating that
like
rum spirit.
he's suing Connor for 5% of whatever the sale was of his Proper 12 stake or stock.
Yeah.
Um, that's all I know. I mean, that was the headline. But yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. It kind of I wonder if there's more going on behind the scenes that led to this, where someone maybe feels slighted. I don't know. What do you think?
It has to. I mean, I don't know what Artem's hand in this whole thing was in terms of how much work he actually did, how much he should feel entitled to, or how much he actually is entitled to. I've met Artem. He seemed like a pretty genuine, down-to-earth dude. That's why I just don't really understand. I'm like, just based on that interaction that I had when I went to the country of Ireland, I hung out there for 4 days, and I got to hang out with him. I just don't feel like he would be that guy that would just do someone wrong. So that makes me feel like I'm more on the side of Artem. But at the same time, there has to be something. Like, Conor seems like a generous guy himself. So it goes, I look at it, I'm like, well, there has to be something else here that I'm missing, or the fan bases are missing, that we have to ask ourselves, well, is Conor right for not paying him? Or is this something that's just maybe that brewed over from something else that happened between the two of them? Because it doesn't make any sense. It's just like, how did you guys get here? I really don't understand it, like, whatsoever. And it's unfortunate because I like those guys together as friends,
Yeah, I mean, I would
Nice and
have
flowy,
to.
Artem. Nice and flowy.
I feel like Artem's suing Connor. You could look at it two ways. It's either he just got fed up with Connor for one reason or another and was like, enough is enough, or he just felt selfish or maybe saw how Conor's life was and just wanted some of it. I don't know. It's weird. I couldn't see myself doing anything like that, but I also don't have any friends who are worth $100 bajillion and didn't cut me off anything. So
Especially if you worked for it. I don't know if he
yeah,
worked for it. Maybe he made the connections for Conor, did like the legwork while Conor was training or something, and maybe he
could be.
And if he did that, he should be entitled to something. Like even the guys that I have trying to help me now, I'm like, dude, you let me know the terms of what you want for trying to connect the dots, and we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Like I'm not a selfish guy. Like I rather take 50 or 60% of something versus not have 100% of nothing. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like what we call a lot of hands make lighter loads. So the more hands on deck, usually, obviously you don't want too many hands on deck, but the more people that are helping usually makes the jobs a lot easier. It's kind of like how we say you delegate something to someone and then this job to somebody else. And this way it just makes it easier to kind of navigate the waters a bit. So I don't know. It's a tough situation. And it's shitty because, again, I don't want to bash either guy, but I'm just like, Colin, if you owe this man money, just pay the guy the money and just be done with it. It's like, that's how I would handle it. But I can understand it's almost
Yeah.
like a divorce. It's almost like a bad divorce.
It sucks. It sucks that it's like happening publicly. It sucks. It's probably gonna ruin a friendship.
Ruined already.
Yeah,
It's
like
already
it's
ruined.
probably done for good, So that's just I would. It sucks to see stuff like that happen to people who like are so beloved, and you think
Yeah.
so highly of. Like, damn, it can happen to anyone.
Did you see any of those clips he's been doing on like the Twitter Spaces? The
Some of
voices.
them.
Oh my
I
goodness,
this is
hilarious, hilarious.
I I mean he's been doing these types of voice notes and shit.
When
And
he's just giggling.
I just wonder, is that him like in a new persona, or is he just fucked up like when he like all the time, where he's just acting weird, like with these weird voices and like a little gremlin, like a little drunk leprechaun.
Well, for me, I feel like it's something that he's been doing for a while. I feel like we had like glimpses of it earlier when he's like on his way up a little bit, and you'll see little shades of his type of humor, and I'm here for it because that's something like my family and I would do when we were younger. We'll make these crazy, silly voices, but we got it because it was something that we did. So it's just like
Yeah.
something funny would happen and you'll make fun of the person, your brother, your sister, and you'll do this voices and like, you like, like, yeah, you little rat, oh, you snitched on me. And we'll do stuff like that. So when he does that, it resonates with me so much. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm living my childhood all over again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it might be weird to some people, but yeah, that's how I grew up. So I just find it hilarious. So that's how I see
Yeah.
it.
It's like if you made the same jokes with an Irish accent that you make today, it would just be way funnier.
Yeah.
Just because it sounds funny.
All right, so we got the UFC Orlando fight card coming up. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Kevin Holland in a big main event matchup. I think this is going to be a great fight. It's almost like the passing of the torch, in my opinion. Yes, Kevin Holland just lost recently, really, really quickly against one of the best wrestlers in MMA right now, Hamza Chimaev. So I don't think he loses any stock for taking a fight like that on a day's notice. There's only one other person I know that's taking a legendary matchup like that, and that was Ali Quinta, who went the distance with one of the arguably greatest lightweights of all time in Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? So this is a good, interesting matchup. I think it's a great opportunity for Kevin Holland to cement his name in the 170-pound division with a very winnable fight. All fights are winnable. So I hate when people say stuff like that because then I should know that anything can happen in the sport. But people like to think there's no way this guy can win. But this matchup, I think, is very evenly matched. And I do think Kevin Holland is the younger, fresher fighter and more durable at this point in their careers. Wonderboy, he can strike his ass off. But for me, I feel like Holland knows if he touches Wonderboy and lands a clean shot on the chin, he could probably end the fight. That's the way I'm kind of seeing this one.
Yeah. I also think he has a couple more tools in the toolbox. And I think usually those guys win. I mean,
He's
if he
39.
just... I'm talking about Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I'm saying
Yeah.
Wonderboy is 39.
Yeah. He's older. He's a little more one-dimensional. I mean, I think if Kevin Holland wants to make it a stand-up fight, then it's a little more like even. But if Kevin Holland wants to use some of his other tools, I think he'll be able to get the win. I think he'll get the win either way. I'm going with Kevin.
And I'm friends with both these guys. I feel like the better striker overall is Wonderboy. I just don't know if he has the durability in this point of his career. If you look at his last 2 losses, it was to Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns, and they both went to a decision. So I think even just looking at that, I think that says a lot that he can still strike with the best guys, and those guys use grappling to beat him for the most part. He's got that dangerous wheel kick that he throws, but Kevin Holland is a lot taller than both those guys that he fought, and I think that's what's going to make it very, very interesting because of the reach that he's going to have on Wonderboy and the height.
Yeah. I mean, those guys beat him by Bilal just held him against the fence basically for 3 rounds.
And almost the same exact thing for Gilbert Burns.
It's basically kind of exposed, I feel like, at this point. If you just hold Wonderboy down, there's not much he can do unless he's gotten better at that since his last fight.
It's just easier said than done. And Kevin Holland's got a 6-inch reach advantage on Wonderboy coming into this. 75 versus 81.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Gilbert Burns and Bilal. I don't know if Kevin's as good of a grappler as they are, but
I would have loved to have seen Wonderboy fight Usman when he was a little bit younger, because the way he beat Jorge Masvidal, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that fight, but man, it was so one-sided in terms of the striking, the distance management, the distance control, using the utilization of his footwork and that side kick that he hit, and he kicked Jorge off of his feet, I think 2 different times.
Yeah.
Like, imagine running in and you get hit with a javelin to the gut and you just like, poof, and you just fall over. Yeah, crazy.
I've watched that fight before. It was just completely outclassing. So that's my thing. If you just stand with Wonderboy, I feel like he's just such a wizard on the feet. But I feel like guys know now that if they have grappling in the tank, that they can kind of resort to that, which is obviously, like you said, easier said than done, but I feel like Kevin Holland could kind of lean into that if because I think they did a podcast together and they talked. They were saying, "Oh, we're gonna make this a great stand-up fight." But I feel like if
Holland and Wonderboy,
I heard this. I didn't see the podcast. I heard someone else talk about it, but
okay.
So I might be wrong, but like I feel like if they, let's say they both go into it thinking we're gonna make it a stand-up fight, then I'm leaning towards Wonderboy. But if Wonderboy starts to get his shit off, and Kevin Holland has other tools that he wants to use, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna get this win," I think that's not an easy route for him to take, but it's there, you know.
But the other part of me is like, man, that 6-inch reach advantage could be a huge game changer if he just utilizes that jab. I could see him touching up Wonderboy from the outside, but then he has to close the distance, which puts him in range to get kicked. And Wonderboy just does a great job. Kevin Holland's not like a pressure fighter. He kind of plots, but he closes the distance and he looks to touch you up and maybe land some combinations. So it's I don't know. It's hard for me to go against Wonderboy because I know how good he is standing up. But at the same time, Kevin Holland's not a wrestler. So it's like, how does he get now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, how does Holland get the fight to the ground? I really don't know.
Yeah. Mean, he could try to wrestle.
He could try, but I don't know if he's...
I'm pretty sure he's been working on that. Is he better than
Gilbert Burns with grappling? Is he better than Bilal Muhammad with grappling? I don't know. This is actually more interesting than I thought.
Yeah. Because what if
he can land that punch?
What if he tries to grapple? If he tries to grapple and it doesn't work, and now you're just stuck standing again, then it's really interesting, actually. Yeah. Because even with the reach advantage, I still feel like Wonderboy is definitely like the more masterful striker.
So 100%.
It's like maybe the reach advantage closed that gap a little, but I still feel like Wonderboy could get his shit off if they just kept it standing, you know?
But then the other side of that is if Holland decides to make it somewhat of a brawl, if he can just touch Wonderboy one time on the chin, I think that is the key to victory. It almost reminds me of Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo. I felt like Aldo was the better technician when it came to the striking with the boxing. But then when Aldo was starting to pull away with the strike count and he started to slow down just a little bit, Holloway bit down on his mouthpiece and just said, you know what, let's just go after this guy and just sit in the pocket and trade. And when he did that, that's when he was able to find that 1-2 shot, 1-2, 1-2, and clip Aldo and put him down both times when they fought. You know, so I'm kind of looking at it like that. It's like, well, if I know I'm more durable, I can take more punishment than you can. So how about I just sit here and we swing them up and see what happens? And I think that's the path to victory. But the problem is getting in close enough to where you could do that. We seen him get caught against the cage when he was pressing guys forward for Wonderboy, and then he got hit with that Superman punch. It was like a Superman hook. It wasn't even like a traditional Superman punch. It was like a Superman punch hook that Anthony Pettis threw and knocked him out. But he was dominating the fight the entire time. So that's where I'm just like, man, this is actually a very interesting fight. Now that we're actually talking about it, I really don't know which way this is gonna go. Like, geez.
Wow. I mean, unless Holland tries to do some weird shit, like just take his legs out or something, or like something we're not thinking of. But now the more I think about it, the more I feel like Wonderboy could actually get a win. And then what happens? Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah, 39 years old, back in the mix. If he beats Kevin Holland, that's huge for him. I'm just hoping Kevin Holland's training for real and brought in some guys that can give him those looks, you know, because you're not going to get that from the average taekwondo, kickboxing, karate guy. Like, it's not easy, man. Like, that's a difficult style to fight, especially if you're primarily a striker and you're more like, I'm going to hit you with a 1-2 or a big shot down the middle. That's more of Kevin Holland's game. I don't really see Kevin Holland throwing like leg kicks. He doesn't really throw like head kicks. I don't really see him throwing stuff like that. He might throw a front kick here and there. But when you look at his game, it's primarily like the jab. Like even when he fought Joaquin Buckley, what he say? You got a booger? You got a booger in your nose. And then he throws a combination right down the middle and catches him and knocks him out, knocks the mouthpiece out of his mouth. And I'm just like, bro. So with that being said, I feel like he needs to have Wonderboy as a sitting target. And I just don't know if Kevin Holland's going to be able to convince or trick or corral Wonderboy into doing that long enough where he can land that shot without getting tired over the course of 5 rounds. This is a very interesting fight. Now that we're actually talking about it, I'm like, wow, this is actually more competitive than I thought it was going to be.
And I mean, I know you're talking about Wonderboy's chin. Obviously, he's old, but like we haven't really seen his chin like super weak, have we?
I mean, I feel like that Superman punch that he got hit with that knocked him out, I feel like he should have been able to take that punch. I feel like that. But at the same time, he was pushing off the cage. He was coming forward. It's a car crash collision, that type of impact. And it was one of those punches you don't see. The ones you don't see are the ones that usually knock you out.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, who else has actually finished Wonderboy? Now that I think about it, I don't know. Anthony Pettis, Darren Till, unanimous decision. Tyron Woodley. Yeah, he hasn't really had. But I do feel like when he gets hit, I think this is what I'm looking at. I think when he gets hit, he gets buzz or a little. There's not a right term to describe this. When someone gets hit, it looks like their eyes roll back in the back of the head. It looks like their durability just like not all the way there, or their knees buckle. And I think that's what happened in the Gilbert fight. He would get cracked and then get taken down. And it wasn't mostly a striking fight. And I could be completely wrong. I could be just making this shit up in my head and be like, yeah, I think his chin's gone. So don't mind me. I have to go back and watch these fights now because I'm like, dude, what if his chin is better than what I thought it was?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like it's not like Dom, his chin, you knew going into that fight, if Cheeto touched him once, there was evidence that his chin was not there already from previous fights. And you literally predicted that to a T. But like Wonderboy, there's really no like evidence of that. It's just like he's 39. He's been in a ton of kickboxing fights and wars in the UFC. So it's like he's got to have some kind of worn down chin, but there's no real like evidence for it.
Yeah, maybe I'm over exaggerating it a bit. But I do remember that one clinch situation that he was in with Gilbert Burns, and they were almost in like a 50-50, and they were just punching each other in the face. I was like, this is actually hilarious to watch right now. But, yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can see, honestly, if Kevin Holland's not on his A game, figuring out ways to corral and corner Wonderboy into one of his long, rangy punches, I can see Wonderboy just outpointing him, sitting on the outside, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee, and just touching him up and getting out of there and maybe landing one of those highlight reel kicks that he seems to get every single time. It's either a wheel kick or a head kick. Or that side kick. I could see the side kick being utilized a lot in this matchup.
Dude, that would be sick to see. Like, I don't have a favorite, but it would be sick to see Wonderboy like do his thing live, you know?
Yeah.
Or like not in I've seen it mostly in highlights. I'd love to watch it Friday night happen, you know?
Yeah, this is one of the tough things for me. Like, when you know both guys, you want both guys to win, and I'm just like, dude, I hate when I have to like predict or think someone's gonna win or lose, because it's just tough, man. Because then I don't want nobody being mad. Like, I'm not saying like this person's gonna definitely win, but I'm giving the tools. Like, if I were fighting this person, this is what I would do or what I'm seeing. And I feel like for Holland, based on the skill set, I would take my chances on trying to close the distance and playing the durability game. That's what I would try to do. I feel like that would be his best way of getting inside, landing a big shot, and maybe even getting a point where he could lock up Wonderboy, maybe get a body lock and take him down. And that could possibly pose a way for him to get a takedown in this fight, because he ain't going to shoot and get a regular takedown like a traditional wrestling style takedown. So it's very intriguing to say the least. And Holland's an interesting guy. When I talked to him in person, he's a character, man. And he was watching us wrestle, and he was like, "Yeah, that looked cool. That looked like a nice move." He's like, "How you do that? How you do that?" I was like, "Wow, all right, no." He's like, "I'm just gonna watch." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm just like, "Yo, bro." He's just a funny individual, man.
Yeah,
So playful, funny, and I'm just like, dude, it's just hilarious to see like this is how he thinks. It's just funny. It's like, yo, he's such a character.
Yeah, if he had a camera on him all the time, it would be like must see TV.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know which way I'm going with that one. I'm now leaning towards Thompson. If it goes to a decision, I think Thompson. If it goes to a finish, I think Holland.
I'll agree with you there. I hope I don't care who wins. I just hope it's a good fight where both of them get to like show what they're made of, you know?
Yeah.
And like
put on a good display.
I hope it's like a full fight, like 3 rounds, and Wonderboy gets his stuff off, Kevin gets his stuff off, and like both guys can kind of move forward better.
5 rounds.
Is it 5 rounds?
Main event, bro.
Shit. Oh, that's even more interesting. Yeah, same thing applies. I just hope, even if Wonderboy loses, I hope it's like a sick performance.
Next up, we got Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Brian Barbarena. I think this is going to be a hell of a co-main event. I wish it was 5 rounds. Oh, yeah, it's 3 5s. I wish it was 5, though, man. Both of these guys, Barbarena is must-watch TV, in my opinion. He just always brings the fight. He just comes forward. He has nasty elbows. That fight he had with Matt Brown was insanity. Mm-hmm. And Dos Anjos, obviously a former champion at 155, interim champion at 170, fought the who's of both divisions. And Barbarena's on a 3-fight win streak, man. Robbie Lawler, Matt Brown, and Darion Weeks. In the Matt Brown fight, was a split decision. I thought Matt Brown was going to get the nod. I didn't care who won. I thought it was just that close of a fight. But he came out on top.
Yeah. I feel like Barbarena's like on fire lately. I've seen like 2 of his fights live. He's like a sick guy to watch. Who did he just fight? Robbie Lawler, right?
Robbie Lawler, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good finish for him.
Dos Anjos on the other side just came off. He's coming off of a knockout, a left hook loss to Rafael Fiziev in the 5th round. I kind of gave the ref a little shit, not shit, but I was like, I feel like it was stopped a little early, but I couldn't see the other side to see how he was, like his eyes and all that. And even from the camera, I thought it could have gone a little bit longer, but then even Rafael was kind of like, nah, he thanked the ref for like stopping the fight, because I guess what you think you know based on what you see on the outside isn't what the person always feels on the inside. Mm-hmm. So for Rafael to say that, I think what he was feeling based on what we saw as fans was way different, that we couldn't really comprehend, to go, nah, you could have gone a little bit more. We think that he could have taken a little bit more and to try to stay in the fight. Well, when the guy's like, nah, I'm good with that, then I think that tells us like, yeah, this is something that you don't always know, because you're not the one that's feeling what's actually happening, if that makes sense.
We get in those debates a lot with like the refs ending the fights early. So if the fighter comes out and like gives their take on it, then it kind of settles the debate. Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of like even my thing with Petr Yan, people saying like you could have continued. When the argument wasn't could I have continued, it's was I given more time to continue? Is it smart for me to continue? And why is it my decision to make if I should continue based on an intentional and blatant foul? Even if it wasn't because he thought I was up or because his coaches said it. he intentionally did it after one of his coaches told him he could do it, and he asked if he could do it. Even the ref told him that no, he's a down opponent. He still threw it anyway. That's as intentional as it gets, you know? But then you have the fans, some of them, that are saying, oh, you could have. I've seen people take this. And I'm like, yo, not all strikes are the same and affect people the same. Our brains and the way our bodies are wired are not all the exact same, you know? So what someone else was able to take might have hit them a little bit differently, where they would react it a little bit differently. And when you're exhausted and you're fatigued and you're starving and you get hit with a shot you didn't see come from nowhere, like we don't have a rubric on to say this is how someone should react based on what we've seen before, based on this circumstance. There is nothing like that. Again, to see Rafael get knocked out like that and to think like, oh, he could have continued, and a lot of people were kind of up in arms about it. And then he goes and said, no, dude, I was hurt. And no one was going, oh, you're an actor. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's just a weird thing. Like, people can try to tell you how you felt when they're not the one that's actually experiencing what's going on with their brain cells at the moment in their body. We're in tune with how we're feeling. Like, that's a whole nother thing. But I think it's going to be a great fight, man. I think Barbarena might be Barbarena time. Bam Bam. It might be his time to come out there and have a coming out party at 38 years old for RDA.
How old is I think Barbarena?
33.
Yeah, so if he gets, this would be like a huge win for him in terms of like getting closer to a title or getting higher up in the rankings.
100%. He beats a guy like this, former challenger. He's right there in that conversation. Maybe 1 or 2 wins away from entering that top 5, I would say, or getting a top 5 matchup.
Yeah.
So this is a very pivotal matchup for both guys, passing of the guard. And can Barbarena enter that division, that upper echelon of the welterweight division, and potentially realize a dream or a goal that not many people are able to do in the sport? It's super hard to get a title shot. It's super hard to win the belt. And it's extremely hard to retain the belt after winning it. So in that order, can you get to the title shot opportunity? Can you win the belt? So this is a big, big opportunity and big fight for Brian Barbarena.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to win, Brian. I think it's his time. Yeah.
I wonder if Dos Anjos is going to try to implement his grappling. I would imagine that he is. He's a black belt, and he still does the gi, which I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't do the gi almost at all anymore because I think for MMA, you should be focusing on no gi. You should be grappling with no shirt to give yourself a realistic look of what it's going to feel like when you're actually in the fight, sweating, falling off the top, no friction from the shirt to keep extra contact or the extra grip. So I don't know. I don't know if that actually helps him or
I've heard that too. Like, why do the gi if you're not going to fight with the gi?
Exactly. I'm going with Barbarena on this one. I like Bam Bam. I think he's a freaking stud.
These are like both great matchups because like there's serious consequences for both guys. Whoever wins, like a loss for RDAs, like career altering consequences.
Yeah.
So 100%. It's exciting if you're like really paying attention.
The next one we got is Tai Tuivasa versus Sergey Pavlovic. Now we're not going to go through all these fights. I just wanted to touch base on a couple of these ones. Like, this is obviously a fun fight. The Jack Hermanson, Roman Dolidze, another Georgian fighter. He's 11-1, just coming off. I think he's won 3 in a row now, all by finishes, man. No, the one against Strabapolo was a decision. But he just beat Phil Halls with the hooks, tore his knee with that leg lock attack. And then the other one, he knocked out Kyle Dawkins in the clinch. So he's coming into his own, becoming a vicious striker and a scary guy on the ground, and not afraid to go forward. And he brings that Georgian power, man. There's like so many of these fights. Like, I don't even know. Like, Jack Hermanson was supposed to fight somebody else, wasn't he?
Yeah, but the guy pulled out.
Brunson.
Yeah, or for whatever reason. Oh, that would have been a good fight.
Yeah, so this is a big opportunity, man.
Yeah, wow. And Roman's like savaging people right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like a scary dude.
So Roman wins this, man. I think that would put him in the top 10 of this division.
It's like fast track. Wasn't he at like 205 and he won 2 fights and then he went down and he won another fight or 2. I think he won. His last fight was his first fight at middleweight and he won. Yeah,
he won 2 fights at 205. Then he lost to Trevin Giles. and then he's now on a 3-fight winning streak.
Dang.
So he's on a run right now, man.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not sure which way. Yeah, I don't know which way that's gonna go, but I'm leaning towards Roman. I think he's just as good in the grappling, and then on terms of the striking, I think his striking is better than Jack Hermanson. But I do feel like Jack is a big dude for 185. Is Roman as big as Jack Hermanson? I don't know, but I like the grappling more for Deledze.
Yeah. I mean, but Roman was, even if Jack's big, like Roman was beating guys at 205.
205. Yeah.
So
that shouldn't be too much of a problem.
I mean, yeah.
We got your boy Eric Anders taking on Kyle Dawkins, Philip Rowe taking on Nico Price, Angela Hill's on this card, one of the most active strawweights out there, taking on Emily Ducote. Clay Guida's back taking on Scott Holtzman. I thought Scott Holtzman was cut. He hasn't fought in a while. He lost 2 in a row to Gamrot and Dariush. Wow. What a killer's row for him to fight.
Yeah.
They didn't do him any favors. Michael Johnson. There's 15 fights on this card, guys. There's a lot of fights. Johnson's taking on Mark Diakiese. Darren Elkins. Jonathan Pierce. Like, I'm a fight fan, so I know, like, I'm looking forward to so many of these matchups. Like, there's a lot of good matchups on this card. Tracy Cortez, Mrs. Ortega, I should say.
Wait, she's fighting? I didn't even know.
She's fighting Amanda Ribas.
Oh,
she
dang.
Yeah, she's undefeated in the UFC right now, man.
She's on fire, and she's like a star.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4-fight winning streak right now. She wins this. This is pivotal for her. She beats Amanda Ribas. She's now in the title shot conversation. 100%. Yeah. You can't deny her after a win over Amanda Ribas.
Yeah. This my buddy's going to this card. This is a sick card, actually.
I wanted to go, but I got that appearance in Dallas. So I'm going to be doing that.
You could send me. I can go get content. It's no problem.
Yeah. Who else we got? We got Natan Levy versus Gennaro Valdez, who Gennaro Valdez is the guy that Matt Favola also sent to the Netherlands.
One of the guys.
Natan Levy, this is a good matchup. I'm hoping Natan gets back to what makes him dangerous, which is his kicks and his grappling. He goes out there and does that. I think this should be a fairly, I don't want to say one-sided, but could be a one-sided win for him if he goes out there and fights smart and not make it into a stand-up brawl. Marcelo Rojo's fighting. I think he's teammates with Valdez. And the opener is Yasmin, I can't even say her name, versus Nunes. I don't know who they are, to be honest. But the Yasmin girl's undefeated, so.
It could mean a lot of things.
Yeah. We got 15 minutes, so let's get a couple of these fan questions.
All right. I got some pulled up for
and
you.
Rolling.
All right. First, my brother Zach asked you, how long do you expect to compete in MMA?
What's his @name?
It's at ZachFine02. I'll put the questions on the screen when I edit.
All right, cool. How long do I plan to
compete in MMA?
Okay, so I don't know how much longer I plan to compete. Again, I just want to make as much money as possible, and if I'm not getting too banged up, I even spoke to Hunter about going to 145. I know there's been talks about Merab trying to go down to 125, maybe doing a test cut to see if he could jump in there to get a title shot as well.
Yeah.
I know they're not happy about that because they don't want no one to come into the 125-pound division and just create a stranglehold and keep the belt, which I think Merab would easily do because of his style is just that good.
Yeah.
It'd be a grappling, like he would just run through everybody.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like when Khabib did it, it was okay. It's like, why can't we do it? Like, what's the issue with us doing that to other people? You know what I mean? Do we have to be Dagestanis? I mean, Georgia is right next door. Why can't we just do what we do, man?
I just wonder, like, does Georgia not champion MMA as much? I don't know.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
Or maybe it's the Muslim thing. Because Khabib doing it ignites the whole Muslim community. Georgians, Merab's not religious. He doesn't have that. Like, he has the whole nation of Georgia on his back, but
he's religious. He's not like, but he's not like a diehard.
He doesn't
buy
like
the book.
champion it. How?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Christian.
I mean, I think Merab would go down and tear it up, but
his weight cut to 35 to 25 would be like me cutting down to 20 to 35. And I don't wish that on anybody. Like when I do it, people say you look good. I'm like, dude, I am like on my freaking deathbed. It feels like I'm knocking on death's door every single time. And I know people are gonna say, why don't you just go up? I'm like, I'm just not big enough for the weight class.
Also,
as much as I would like.
People say like they try to discredit you because I just posted this clip of your weight cut on TikTok and it's getting a ton of comments and people are always asking like, why don't you just go up a weight or why don't you stop weight bullying? It's like, yo, if you can make the weight, that's the only criteria. He's making the weight. Like,
yeah,
that he's making the lowest possible weight that he can make. So is Sean O'Malley, who's taller. Like, it's like, so it's just,
and
if he couldn't make the weight.
I'm not fighting at a heavier weight than these guys when we step in the octagon. I get to 150 at the most 154. Mm-hmm. I know guys who are coming in heavier, like 20 pounds heavier. I'm like, and they're heavier than I am. So what's the issue?
And you're not cheating to make the weight. You're not drawing blood. You're not using an IV after. It's like you're following the rules of the game, and you're succeeding.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I said 32. Now I'm saying 35. I'm 33 now. Maybe 36. I'm just taking it day by day, year by year, how I'm feeling, how I'm looking into fights in terms of my reaction time and all that. And I just don't want to go on a bad run and have to like deal with all these crazy losses and then realize like, hey man, it's probably time to find the door, get your ass out of here. You had a good run. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Father Time is here for you. So that's my answer for that.
Okay. Next one, Charlie Quinn MMA asked, who's your dream matchup at 145 if and when you move up?
Dream matchup at 145? I think Volkanovski, man. I mean, he's the guy right now, right? So it's like, if I'm going to go up to 145, give me the guy. Give me the guy that people think is unbeatable. I would fight that guy and show like, yo, there are levels to skill sets and styles make fights. I'm not saying I'm going to go up there and definitely win. I'm going up a weight class. He's probably cutting just as much weight as I am to 145, even though he's short and stocky. But I think I'll have some advantages. Speed. I think I'll have the grappling advantage. He's going to obviously have the power. It just will be a fun fight. It's different problems that I will have to figure out. And it'll be the same thing for him because he's not dealing with a guy who's just good at grappling like Ortega. He's dealing with a guy who can actually wrestle and take him down. You know, that's a different type of matchup.
Yeah. And then for you, it's like you're dealing with a guy who's kind of your size in terms of like length. It's like some of the advantages you have at 135, you forego those for other advantages at 145. So it just kind of presents a whole different matchup.
It's a different game.
Interesting answer. Next one is, what's your opinion on the Glover Teixeira situation?
I think the Glover Teixeira situation is cool. It sucks for Glover, of course, but if Glover doesn't want to step up and take the short notice opportunity, that's on him. Because sometimes you just never know. That's what the game is all about, man. When opportunity knocks at your door, are you going to take it or not? I mean, he's what 43, 44, whatever he is. He's old. So for him to say, you know what, I want a full camp to prepare, I don't blame him. But at the same time, he can't be mad if that opportunity never comes again. Because who's to say he's going to get another contender matchup, or who's to say he doesn't get leapfrogged by somebody else who comes in and has a great performance because he didn't compete, you know? I always say like a bird in hand is always better than 2 or 3 birds in a bush because it's there. You could take your chances. That's what life's about. It's about taking chances, and Glover's going to take his chance, roll the dice, and see what happens. But he's at an opportunity, at a point in his career where that window is closing slowly but surely. So
right.
I feel bad for him, but at the end of the day, he was presented a chance. He decided not to take it. And I can't say if that's right or wrong. It's a completely different style matchup, a different problem. And I know what it's like to take a short notice fight that you really have not prepared for, and you don't want to overlook the guy and end up getting knocked out the way I did. So that's how I answer that.
Rage Trip on Twitter asked, if you could fight any fighter from any organization, present or past, who would it be and why, assuming they're in their prime? And then I have a follow-up question for this, but go ahead.
Would I fight? Who would I fight?
From any fighter from the past or present or in a different organization in their prime.
I think Kid Yamamoto. I think that would be a fun fight to fight. That guy, a fun guy to fight. savagery over there in Japan was just ruthless, man. That guy, I think there's a video clip of him punching somebody out, him sticking out his tongue. The ref's trying to pull him off of him, and he just keeps punching this guy in the face. Just like he was a mean guy. Like to fight a guy like that would have been scary, but it would have been exciting at the same time. Like, dude, I'm not trying to get highlighted, but I want to beat this guy's ass, you know? He was I would say one of the Japanese pioneers over there.
Okay. I was thinking you might have said Mighty Mouse, so my question after that would have been like, Mighty Mouse thinks he could beat you. I wanted to see what your thoughts were on that. And my friends were debating this with me the other day, like Prime Mighty Mouse could beat Prime Aljo. And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I was arguing with them on your behalf, but I want to see what you think.
Well, Mighty Mouse also fought Dominic Cruz when Dominic Cruz was in his prime, and he got German suplex like 4 times in that fight. And that was pretty much prime Mighty Mouse when he was on that run, like right in the middle of it, you know, when the UFC had just submerged themselves with or acquired the WEC. So when I look at it like that, I'm like, I find it really hard to believe that I can see that fight going any differently, because I take him down. I think that's a different story, especially him back then when he's younger. I don't think his grappling is as good and as experienced as it is now versus back then. And I think you match that up with me right now. I think I like to think I run away with that just based on the size. And you're talking about two guys who don't really get hit. Mighty Mouse takes risks and puts himself in positions where he could get exploited. Him being a smaller guy, he's fast, explosive, so he's willing to take that risk. But I think my grappling is like what they say about power, the ultimate equalizer. My grappling is the ultimate equalizer. Like if you get taken down by me, the round is pretty much over, or you're getting finished. It's literally one or the other. There's very few people who survived and live to talk about it another day.
How about if you guys were both like...
We got 2 minutes, so we could probably take a different one.
Okay. I didn't have any others, actually.
No? All right. I got one good one.
Okay. I had 4, so...
You had 4? That was it?
Yeah.
Matt R for 24. He goes, does it bother you that it seems like the UFC is what it seems like they are trying to find someone to beat you, ? I think you make a great champion. Keep it up. I'm not going to say it bothers me, but I will say it is relatively annoying that, you know, a lot of other guys get their opportunity to have their red panty night. Like, I just want a red panty night. I think they hooked me up with me being on that UFC 280. So I definitely appreciate that. I mean, I can't have it all, you know, I know that. So I got to be realistic. And I do know that they want to protect their guy that they think could, if he becomes a champion, he can make them a ton of money. So they're looking out for themselves. So I do get that. With that being said, I got to look out for myself and try to win as much as I can and try to beat the best guys that I could beat, because ultimately that's what creates legacy and that's what creates longevity and fortune for the time being, you know. So that's the short answer with that. And with that said, we got little to like 30 seconds left. So I guess we just say thanks to the viewers. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna buy the upgraded version so we could do longer versions. So thank you guys for always tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time.
Shout out to the Weekly Scraps Media.
Peace.